When life knocks you down, and life will knock you down, try to land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. Welcome to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle. In my last video, which this one should have been, but I created another video instead of this one. So in my last video, I was talking about moving into an RV that we have down at the lake. And just a couple of days ago, while night fishing for the first time here at the lake, I caught my first catfish. So I also plan to fish tomorrow, the next day, and the next day before I go home. So next week's video will be back in my office at my house. Just to recap what I talked about 2 videos ago, which was Robert Ashley's 6 phases of retirement. I want to review those now so that I talk about how that has progressed and research that's been done on those 6 phases of retirement, and also other research that's been done on the FIRE movement since Robert Ashley's research, which was done a while ago. So the first 3 phases of Robert Ashley's 6 phases of retirement are pre-retirement, where people are starting to think seriously about retirement. In my case, I spent the 3 years prior to my retirement maxing out my TSP for the government and proving to myself, as Dave Ramsey says, before you retire, prove to yourself that you can retire. So I did not live on my federal government income. I lived on my secondary income for the last 3 years. The next one is actual retirement. And when this comes, there's a transition from full-time work to part-time work. And I took time off and I slept in the mornings and I worked a little bit. And I even have cut down on my teaching. So I used to teach at 4 colleges and now I teach at 3. So that's my version of retirement. It may not be other people's, but that's my version. And then number 3, which is contentment. And it says this is a positive phase when retirees get to enjoy the fruits of their lifetime labor. I am just getting to contentment now. This is where I am at the RV that I didn't even know, and I'll tell you a story a little bit later about my alternative to this place at the lake. The fourth one is disenchantment. Now, I have not experienced disenchantment in my retirement. It says that this is where there can be emotional downsides of retirement, such as loneliness, disillusionment. I retired to something, not from something. So I have had nothing but a ball in my retirement. I ride my motorcycle. I'm going fishing. I'm doing volunteer work in my community. I am loving my retirement. Number 5 is reorientation. And it says in this phase, people try to figure out who they are now and map out their place in the world. I have figured out who I am now. I am just very philanthropic with my activities, and that's, I think, what I was meant to do all along. And financial freedom gives me the freedom to do that. And 6 is routine. As retirement life becomes more familiar, people in this phase tend to accept their situation and settle into a set of routines. My retirement has been nothing of routine. Every year it gets better, it gets different, and it changes. And when I mentioned earlier that I wanted to tell you about my alternative to the lake, is that I own land that I bought years ago at a lake in Arkansas. And it's in the northwest corner of Arkansas called Holiday Island. And I was going to build a vacation home at that lake. And so I've had this land for some years, but because my wife and I just got this RV at this lake that's closer to our house, much more convenient, and a lot less expensive than building an entire home at a lake community in Arkansas, I'm thinking about selling my land in Arkansas. Most of the work done on Robert Ashley's research has been done in America. So in 2006, researchers in Croatia wanted to find out if his 6 phases of retirement were valid outside of the US. And what they found was that 5 phases, the preparation phase, the honeymoon phase, disappointment phase, and stability phase, and terminal phase, those all were the same. However, outside in Croatia and Bosnia, after people retired, their sixth phase of retirement was wondering where they're going to get income if they're not employed. And so that was a difference than the routine phase that we just talked about with Robert Atchley's research. Please like and subscribe to my channel and tell your friends about my channel. I'm really trying to grow the channel so that I get monetized. Once I am monetized, I will not take a profit from this channel. All of the proceeds will go to charity in my local town in South Alabama. So let's look at the research done on the FIRE movement. In 2021, Taylor and Davies published a journal article that looked at the FIRE movement, but they had a unique spin on it that I don't necessarily agree with. They define the FIRE community as the financial independence retirement community consists of individuals each personally dedicated to reducing consumption so as to build up financial surpluses that are eventually adequate to live off of. And what they found in their research and what they looked at is that the FIRE movement is only based on the stock market. And people save and save and save and then just retire and just start drawing down on their stock market returns. But we all know that the FIRE movement is much more than that. So their research was very limited. And so their findings were also very limited. The quote of the day: the goal is not to look rich and be broke. The goal is to look average and be wealthy. This research paper looked at what motivates people to get into the FIRE movement, which is much more than the last article, which just basically said, does everybody invest in the FIRE movement, invest in the stock market? And the answer is no. But from their lens, everybody does invest in the stock market. So their retirement within FIRE is purely dependent on the actions of the stock market. This research here looks at more what motivates us to do FIRE. And I think that's much more relevant. The findings of Kahn and Pandy 2023 are that people go into the FIRE movement for two different reasons. One is escapism, to escape either a job that they sort of don't like or to have freedom to do a job in a manner that makes them feel better. The other reason that people go into FIRE and that they're motivated to do FIRE is their concern for physical and mental well-being. And both of these were reasons that I chose to go into the FIRE movement. Yes, I had a toxic workplace, but two, I wanted to do something with my life, which was getting my PhD and teaching. I didn't want to be an IT person for the rest of my life. I wanted to do something different. And that's why I say I retired to something and not away from something. The other part was the physical and mental well-being. I needed that mental well-being. I needed to not always be worried about my job going away or always be worried that one of my coworkers was going to stab me in the back. That's no way to live, and that's no way to work. Having freedom to work when you want to work, where you want to work, like me working here at the lake, I can work anywhere because I am location independent. The other thing, and the last thing that I like about this article, are the practical implications. They really surprised me. The practical implications of all of this research of what motivates people to go into FIRE is that it will help certified financial planners to market their products towards financially independent FIRE people. And that was something that I did not see coming at the end of this article. The quote of the day: the goal is not to look rich and be broke. The goal is to look average and be wealthy. I updated you in the last video about my rental properties costing me money and my savings rate going down for the rest of the year. Well, today I got my rental income and it was very good. So I just want to say that owning rental properties is not all doom and gloom. You do have good times, and I'm hoping for better times getting my rental income for the rest of the year. Remember, never let your past determine your future.